Good morning, Dharma friends. Welcome to Hsi Lai Temple's online lecture. And today, I'm going to talk about how to apply the Buddha Dharma in life while facing the upheavals in today's world. In today's world, we see many things happen, and lots of people are having stress, anxiety over them. And one of the most serious crises that the world is facing is the COVID-19 pandemic. We see many people live in fear, despair, and anxiety. As of today, as we can see in this slide, there are more than 23 million people contracted the coronavirus. Among them, 815,000 people lost their lives. And in the United States only, we see more than 6 million people are tested positive to the virus. And 180,000 people died from the COVID-19. And every day from the news, we see something that saddens our heart, like in this one, and a family lost the parents and leave 5 children without mom and dad. And this is something is really torturing people's heart. It makes us very sad. And in addition to the pandemic, conflicts between people, between ethnic groups, between nations, and even within families make people live in fear as well, and sometimes in hatred. And speaking of media, and almost every day we see something like this from the media. And speaking of the media, with advancement of technology, media, especially the internet, become the major window for people to interact with others and with the world. Unfortunately, the same time that the media give us information, knowledge, and convenience, it brings people nutritions to the negative emotions, thoughts, and it always filled with coverage of negative news, unfortunately. Those information and comments are like wind, fanning the fire of hatred, bitterness, and anxiety in people's mind. Last year, in September, I was invited to University of Arizona to talk about how to deal with upheavals in life from the Buddhist perspective. Back then, there was no pandemic. There was no COVID-19. However, there was a mass shooting in El Paso, Texas. And today, with the pandemic and also the conflict in the world, we feel even more urgent need to apply the Buddhist wisdom in life to help people deal with the stress caused by upheavals. And this is why we picked this topic to talk about the Dharma. Understanding the Dharma is one thing, and how to apply it in daily life is more important. And from the slide, the pictures, we see conflicts between people, between social and ethnic groups, between nations, are happening almost every day. Upheavals in life cause mental problems. Every day, people are facing different negative emotions, worries, fear, sadness, and hatred. Sometimes people show aggressiveness when they are interacting with other people. And we see more and more people are depressed of what's happening in their life and in the world. And sometimes the mental problems cause social problems and conflicts between people and the hateful crimes, discriminative acts, and the conflicts between nations, and sometimes even wars. And this is why understanding the Buddha Dharma to us is very important. We need to look at the world and our life from a different perspective. However, to most Westerners, when talking about Buddha Dharma or Buddhism, the first image pops up in people's mind is meditation. Meditation is one of the most important practices in Buddhism. However, understanding the Buddha's wisdom, the Buddha Dharma, is the foundation of the practice. As we discussed earlier, upheavals outside in the world is actually a reflection, a manifestation of turmoil inside. How does this function? The Buddha tells us in his teaching, when we have attachment to something, for example, we attach to certain things, certain objects, to certain people, or to certain ideas, the views. And as long as there's an attachment, and there will be bitterness, because impermanence of the world, impermanence, all the possibilities, all the changes, all the differences in life and in the world. And there are changes, things that we like. First, we might not really get it. Or even we got it, we will lose it sooner or later. And even just before the time that we lose the things that we like, and sometimes, and we just get tired of it. Like your favorite food, if you like it, but you eat it every single day, or even just for many meals in a row, and you eat your favorite food. And for sure, you will be tired of it. Sometimes the changes is not from outside, just from you, from within. And therefore, as long as there's a attachment to things, or even to ideas, there will be bitterness, there will be stress and suffering in the mind. And nowadays we see sometimes there are protests in different part of the world, not just in the United States. Protests with different reasons, different causes. And when you see people are really getting upset or emotional because of people disagree with each other's ideas, and then they fight, rather than listen to each other and try to work on the differences and keep what is the same and work on the differences, and people try to fight and try to overcome others. That is where the conflicts come from. And meditation on a daily basis is very important, especially nowadays. People live in a very fast-paced world, and we got a lot of things to do, to accomplish, to deal with, a lot of people, a lot of situations. Then our mind will just spinning very fast. In the evening, we need to get the mind back to itself just by observing the in and out breathing. Eventually, the mind will calm itself down. It's not easy at the beginning. It's always trying to go out. Maybe even counting your breath 1 to 10 and 1 to 10. Maybe not even you count to 10, your mind is somewhere else. And when you notice that, that's maybe minutes away. However, just little by little, and practice meditation like this. This very process of dragging your mind back to the breath and not to let it always going out from maybe at the beginning, only 2 seconds that you can stay peace, your mind can stay peace. And then eventually you can stay for 10 seconds, 1 to 10, 10 breaths, an even longer period of time. And now the mind is actually the process. The mind is it's really cleansing itself from the impact of what's happening during the day. All those impacts are karma, influence of something happened in the past to your mind. The reason that your mind cannot stay calm and peace is because your mind is used to other habits, is used being agitated. Especially nowadays, we see many young people, they stay with the internet, with the computer or cell phones for a long time each day. That is like spinning the mind for that long time, sometimes with the high intensity of the focus, with the concentration. For example, playing a video game. They have to be very concentrated. And that is give the mind a very a strong impact, a strong influence to stay with something else. And in the evening, if you want the mind to get back to, say, the in and out breath, which we do it every day in each moment, but we don't really notice that. The mind is used to seek what makes it pleasant, make the mind think this is more important, has a better meaning. And all these meanings, importance, first is very subjective, and also it's simply the imagination of the mind. And staying with these, and people will become very subjective and only stay with what they like and what they agree with. However, when we practice a meditation and constantly we get our mind back to in and out breathing, for example, at the meditative object, and we are actually making the mind off the hook of what's happening in the past. And that is how we cultivate the mind with peace. And of course, practicing meditation is not the only way, and understanding the Dharma, understanding the process, understanding the purpose of this practice is to cultivate the mind rather than to get the mind into certain mental states. And that is a foundation, that's a fundamental. And again, the fundamental practice of Buddhism is to practice it in daily life. And what is the Buddha Dharma? Actually, Buddha Dharma is simple. It's just life. Different from other religions, which might encourage people to worship someone. And the Buddha Dharma is to teach us how to understand our own life, our own heart. From our life, we see the world has always been impermanent. We see many changes. We see many people around us come and go. And we all know, even ourselves, one day we will leave this world. And therefore, understanding the world is impermanent. It's full of different opportunities or possibilities. It's very important. And that tells us impermanence and also non-self. And also, what's happening in life are not always as we anticipate them to be. Life is full of changes. And you may not have control over things happening in life, but you can control how your own mind reacts to them. However, this is not what we see in most of the part of the world. And we see people, when facing difficulties in life or upheavals in the world, and they try to conquer, especially those people who are with powers, with advancement in technology, are more often to try to conquer others, and rather than using these convenient means, the technology, to help people. And in this slide, we see natural disasters have always been along with the human history. However, human learns and becomes stronger each time after the natural disaster. And here we see in 1906, the earthquake in San Francisco. We see the tornadoes, the flooding, and also in 1918, and there was a pandemic as well. To understand the Buddha Dharma and how can it help us? Regarding non-self, what is happening in life are not always as we anticipate them to be. We see things happen in our life, sometimes with our own efforts, and we can make things happening, like when we're hungry and we can eat something. If the students want to have a good score, want to study well, they have to put forth the efforts, and they study hard, and they can make better score. However, facing natural disasters, facing the natural process of human body, from being born to this world, growing up, sometimes having illness, and eventually become older and even leave this world. And we have no complete control over this process. And the pandemic reminds us again that the body is a part of the nature. It's not us. The pandemic, the virus, coronavirus, reminds us that if we're going to the crowd, say right now, without protection, without wearing a face mask, actually there are more chances for us to contract the virus. And yesterday there was a news in a Starbucks store. There was a woman who drank coffee in the store without wearing face mask, and 56 people tested positive after drinking there, just because of the drinking there the same time when the woman drank coffee there. However, none of these 56 people were employees of the store, because all the employees or wearing face masks. So this body, if it's really you, and the body should listen to you. I don't like the coronavirus. I don't want to get it. However, if the body is in there at the place without protection, and there's a good chance for the body to contract the coronavirus. So it's not you. It's a part of the nature. And the mind, what about the mind? Is the mind you? Actually, the mind follows what's happening in your surroundings. And nowadays, with the internet, the mind actually functions with all the information you received from the internet. And therefore, and afterwards, it manifests with the thoughts and emotions. This is why sometimes we see some news, the protest, the violence in the protest, and or some people we see almost every day. We see the news that some people lost their beloved ones due to the pandemic. And our mind actually is saddened. Sometimes the mind really feels distortion. Therefore, the body and our mind, which is with our thoughts and all the emotions, are actually as something part of the nature. However, every time when you discern the changes in your mind and knowing your happiness, knowing your sadness, and rather than following them, be aware of them, and even sometimes through your cultivation and try to control them. And actually, you can grow your wisdom just like the Buddha did. And in this picture, we see a black guy who is a supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement. In this picture, we see a black guy who is a supporter of the BLM, Black Lives Matter movement. And he saved a white guy from the crowd. And in the other picture, we see many students are actually having party on the beach in Miami. It shows us people facing the same problems have different minds. Some people are having fear and dare not to go out to even for shopping. And some people, they don't really care. They go to the party and without wearing face masks. So that really shows us the mind actually facing the same problems or in the same environment, and the mind reacts differently. Therefore, it really tells us, where do upheavals come from? There are changes and there are things happening in the world. However, people react to them differently. Some people, like to the pandemic, some people go out to have party. They still are very happy. Of course, we're not encouraging people to go to parties at this time without, especially without protection. And however, it just shows us upheavals are really reflections of turmoil inside people's mind. And since upheavals are reflections from within, we see hope. If we can cultivate our mind, we can deal with all the changes in the world with a peace of mind and with compassion and with wisdom. And how do we do that? As we mentioned earlier, lots of people, when talk about Buddhism, they talk about meditation. Meditation is very important. However, we cannot practice meditation 24/7. And we have to understand the fundamental Dharma teaching and apply them in our daily life. And what we can do, as we can see here, be aware of what's going on in your mind. Rather than following the emotions and thoughts and the stories in our mind, and we can be aware of them and choose to follow or not to follow. If your mind tells you to put on face masks when you go out, and you know this will protect you, and you can follow. And sometimes, if you have negative emotions in your mind, and you can choose not to follow. But how to do it? And meditation on a daily basis, it would help. And also practice enduring patience. And that will give our mind the strength to fight against those negative emotions. And how to train the mind to have that ability? Well, just in our daily life, in each situation, we can practice it. For example, before arguing with somebody, well, some people like arguing with others. Before arguing with others, give yourself a sec to smile and pay respect to others. Especially when you hear something that is different from your own ideas, or you want to disagree with others, you don't have to argue with them, you don't have to yell with them, you don't have to be emotional. You smile. You smile to yourself, to others, and in your heart, you stay respectful. And when you are talking or discussing something with other people, or even sometimes you disagree with other people, you don't have to put yourself in an argument. You don't have to win the argument. Just make your point and pay respect. It sounds simple. Is it? Some people would ask, is it really a practice of Buddhism? It is. When we are doing this, especially if we're not used to do this, things that we do is also a training of our heart, of our mind. We have to train our mind and be in peace to understand what's going on, to understand the situation, and try to be nice and respectful to the other person. And sometimes we need to know, remain silent is a better way. We don't have to always express ourselves to disagree or agree. Staying silent is a good way. If we are really see something that is not in our favor and put ourselves in very hard situations, and think about the good side of life or other people, and that is a good way to calm ourselves down and make ourselves be more reasonable. If in life we are doing this, and eventually we can train our mind actually to be in peace, not always to be agitated. The fundamental practice of Buddhism is to be mindful in your own life, in daily life, in doing everything. Rather than sitting in your own room on the cushion and practicing meditation, which probably just take a small portion of your life. And even for those who practice And nowadays, for most of the monastics, we still have to responsibilities to maintain the temples, interact with the society, with other people, and also to practice compassion and to help others. It's impossible for people to meditate for most of the time in their life. And therefore, understanding the Dharma and the practice in daily life is a key. The foundation is cultivate the good, avoid the bad, and ideal consequences will follow, as the Buddha verse says. In humanistic Buddhism, at Guang at Hsi Lai Temple, we promote 3 acts of goodness: do good deeds, say good words, and have good thoughts. And this is a practice. Some people would think this is very easy. However, is it really easy to always do good deeds and say good words, and without any bitterness in your mind when you are dealing with some people that you don't like, who just offended you? It's not that easy. So do good deeds, say good words, and have good thoughts really require peace of the mind, the power of the mind. In this slide, we see this 16-year-old student pilot is flying medical supplies to rural hospitals during the pandemic. And this young man, he is an athlete at school. His game got canceled. And at first, he was a little upset. And then he got a good idea, the individual plane. He talked to himself to do something meaningful. Therefore, he used his time following the stay-at-home order, and he flied his personal plane and to send medical supplies to rural hospitals. In the news, we see the people, the doctors at the hospital didn't believe him in the first place. And then, however, when they saw this 16-year-old brought medical supplies to their hospital, they were really amazed. If we can do something that would amaze other people, give other people happiness, give other people what they really need, give other people confidence, happiness, and convenience. And that is what we say is a good thing. That is doing a good deed. And of course, during the pandemic, our BLIA members, the BLIA, the Buddhist Light International Association members, and sent medical supplies to the hospitals, to police officers, and also to some frontline workers of the essential businesses. Here we see in Hawaii, the venerables of Guang Temple and the BLIA members sent the face masks to the hospitals. Regarding the Dharma, as we talked about earlier, the world that you are seeing is a reflection of your own mind. However, in today's world, whenever there's a crisis, we see people pointing fingers to each other rather than looking at and improve themselves. So the Buddha Dharma tells us not to look at outside, look at other people, and to say which one is right, which one is wrong. The Buddha Dharma, the cultivation of Buddhism, is really to understand the truth, the Dharma, and try to improve ourselves, cultivate our own mind. If we see Sometimes we think we're right, do something good. However, if it's not really making other people happy, or sometimes even it's right, it's really get us into an argument with others, or sometimes even deteriorating our relationships with others, we don't always have to do it or speak it out. We don't always have to say it out to others. And this is also a practice of respect to others and also a practice of patience. The world is a reflection of our own mind. The negative mind sees negative world and vice versa. Sometimes the negative world that we see will make our own mind even more negative. Therefore, tune our own mind to be positive, be in peace, with happiness, and that is a key practice in Buddhism. Cultivating good in mind and sees beauty of the world in the same situation, and people react differently. 16-year-old we just saw. And also here, at the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people worried about contracting the virus, and people have this fear and staying at home. However, eventually, they can't stay at home all the time, and therefore they go out to the store, of course, with a protection, wearing face masks, and also even with the gloves. When we go out to do shopping, and we see actually outside, when all the people are following the rules, following the orders of the government, it's actually not that dangerous. And that just gives us a confidence. And therefore, the same place, the same time, if we just stay at home and imagine how dangerous outside world is, it's really scare ourselves to death. However, with the protection, with caution, we go out and we see what's happening in the real world. The fear just go away. So sometimes we just need to open our eyes without fear, being courageous, and look at the world. And then we see the beauty of the world. The beauty of the world is also a reflection of our own mind. It shows our confidence and shows our relaxation of the mind without fear, without worries. And therefore, how to apply it in life, how to apply the Buddha Dharma in life. As we just saw, embrace everything in life, be it good or bad, dangerous or safe. What we need to do is stay calm, open our eyes, and to do what is necessary and deal with whatever comes in life. If it's not satisfied, if you sometimes the things happening in life, it's not satisfying, and just put forth your own efforts with a positive and a compassionate mind. And this is what Master Xingyun, the founder of Shan and Hsi Lai Temple here, promotes as a humanistic Buddhism. We need to embrace on our life. Sometimes it's something that deemed as dangerous or not good, say illness. Master Xingyun says illness sometimes is a good companion, which reminds people the vulnerability and impermanence of body, and encouraged people to cultivate the mind rather than only taking care of the body. Of course, this for especially for practitioners of religions, different religions, especially in Buddhist practices. The staying positive and being with the illness, it's a very important. It's a key. For example, some people, they have a diabetes, or they have a high blood pressure and other illness, which may be chronic, not easy to cure. And they just need to know their body and know their body has this illness. And they know when, what time to take the medication. They need to know what kind of food they can take and cannot take, and what kind of lifestyle they need to have. And then be with the illness. However, if people are scared of it, people really have a fear over the illness, and that just give people more stress in the mind, and that is not good for the health. Therefore, a good way to look at the illness, and sometimes Master Xing Yun tells us, just be a friend with your illness. It doesn't mean you don't want to cure the illness, but it just you need to accept it and even embrace it. And that means stay calm and relax with it. At the same time, do what is necessary to protect yourself. And therefore, how to apply the Buddha Dharma in life while facing upheavals in today's world? Understanding the Dharma and embrace life with a smile, confidence, and diligence. Just staying positive is not enough, and we still have to do something. A good way to practice Buddhism and practice the Buddha Dharma is to go out to help someone. Yesterday, I heard a news. One of our youth members, YAD, the BLIA Young Adults Division members, he used to come to our short-term monastic retreat very often. And he's going to school in Illinois. Many of his friends at school, he cannot, this young man cannot come back to home because of the pandemic. And he stayed at the school. And in his spare time, he went out to help others. And now he's a volunteer to help the hospitals to test the coronavirus. It is a dangerous job. However, he tells his parents he has a good protection to himself. He has face masks and gloves. And more importantly, there are people who need his help. And of course, there are hundreds of thousands of BLIA members who are helping others during pandemics. And when we are encouraged to help others, and we are also helping ourselves to ward off the fear, to get rid of the fear within ourselves. Therefore, do something positive, compassionate is definitely a good practice that would help us to deal with the upheavals in life. And always do good deeds, say good words, and have good thoughts. And that is the key practice in humanistic Buddhism. As a conclusion of our today's lecture, and how to apply the Buddha Dharma in life while facing upheavals in today's world. Understanding the Dharma and embrace life with a smile, confidence, and diligence. And that is the key. Only smile to yourself is not enough. And you have to with confidence and do very diligently and practice or do your work. You have to do your work and make a living, support your families, and help the society. And also, don't forget to always say positive words, good words, do good deeds to help others, and to have a good thoughts. And how to determine it's good? As long as your actions, your thoughts, your words are giving other people hope, joy, confidence, and convenience, and that is a good thing. If it's just for your own hope, your own convenience, your own joy, and that might not be that good. And this is also the suggestions from Master Xingyun, the founder of Foguangshan Buddhist order and the Foguangshan Hsi Lai Temple. Again, I wish everyone stay healthy and safe.